Okay, in this center you're going to be talking about and learning about World War II. And World War II was a major event in Europe's history, in the world's history actually, and we are going to try to understand the causes of World War II, and the effects. And an important place to start is to talk about Germany after World War I. Germany was one of the aggressors in World War I, which means that they were one of the people who started the conflict, or one of the countries that started the conflict. So after World War I, when Germany lost, the other countries decided that Germany needed to have some very strict punishments to sort of teach them a lesson about starting a war like this so that they wouldn't do it again. Some of those punishments were Germany had to pay millions and millions and millions of dollars to the countries that they were against in the war. Germany had to give up parts of their territory. They had to give up land. And the big one, the one that really made Germany very angry, was that they were prevented from building up a military to protect themselves after World War I, because the rest of the countries thought that if they had a military, they could easily do something like World War I again. So at the end of World War I, Germany was not happy with the punishments that the rest of the world made them take part in. And so Germany's morale, or pride in their country, was kind of low. So over the next 20 years or so, different groups of people and different leaders sort of stepped up and wanted to help Germany regain its greatness, or its pride in its country. And one of the groups was called the Nazi Party. Nazi stood for, in German, the National Socialist Party, and they were led by a man named Adolf Hitler. Now, the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler, they started out with a main goal of restoring Germany's greatness, making them proud again, rebuilding their nationalism, their pride in their country. Now, in this case, the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler, they were talking about an extreme form of nationalism, where their pride went beyond just being happy with what they had and enjoying themselves as the German nation, but they wanted to expand and to go out and get more land and more wealth to bring and make Germany even greater than they had been before World War I. And so, to that end, they started to take over other countries. And the rest of the world sort of watched in the beginning. They sort of said, well, we're not going to get involved just yet. We're going to see what happens. But then in September of 1939, Germany invaded the country of Poland. And that was the event that officially began World War II, Germany's invasion of Poland. So the next day, September 3rd, 1939, Great Britain declared war on Germany, and that was the official start of the war. Now, over time, as the war progressed, many countries joined the conflict for various reasons. And two alliances emerged. The Allies, which were the countries of Great Britain, France, the United States, and Russia, and many other small countries were also involved in the Ally alliance. And then on the other side were three countries, the Axis powers: Germany, Italy, and Japan. Those were the three countries on the Axis side. So you have the Allies and the Axis. Okay? So as the war progressed, the Axis became known for their very brutal acts towards the people of their countries and towards other countries around the world. Japan was responsible for the bombing of Pearl Harbor, which brought the United States into the war. Italy was under the leadership of a very strict dictator, Benito Mussolini. And Germany, of course, under the control of the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler, really were the head of the Axis powers. And in addition to wanting to make Germany great again and promote nationalism and take over other places, another goal of the Nazi Party was to get rid of a certain group of people within the German nation. And that group of people were the Jewish people. And so, over time, the Nazi Party rounded up many Jewish people, brought them to places called concentration camps, and systematically killed millions of Jewish people. By the war's end, 6 million Jewish people were killed by the Nazi Party during World War II. It was a very, very terrible time for the world, and that was called the Holocaust. So the Holocaust happened within World War II in Germany and Poland underneath the control of the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler. So those are some of the things that the Axis power became known for, their brutality and maybe even hatred towards either other countries or people within their countries. Now, as we think about World War II, it's important to know that it was known as a total war. Now, think about the word total. Total means like the end result, or all-encompassing, or bringing everything together. Total war, World War II, means that every country that was a part of this war was greatly impacted by the war itself. Not one person in the countries involved in the war was not affected by the war itself, either because they had to give up certain foods because they were not readily available anymore, or you had to collect things like scrap metal to help the military. Women couldn't wear nylons because it was being used to make parachutes, losing people who had gone to serve in the military. So it really was all-encompassing. People who were in countries that were in the war were completely affected by all of the things that World War II brought. It was a total war. So here are some of the numbers that you need to know and what really makes World War II a total war. 50 million people were killed. That is a lot of people between civilians, regular citizens, military, and when we move down 6 million Jewish people killed in the Holocaust. Many, many people lost their lives in this conflict. Millions of dollars were spent by numerous countries around the world in order to supply support to their militaries and the things that they needed in order to stop the Axis powers from taking over what they wanted to take over. Property damage. In World War II, there were new technologies, planes, tanks that had been used in World War I, but really were brought to a new level in World War II. And so when London was bombed by the Germans, thousands and thousands and thousands of homes were damaged by what had come from the German planes bombing the city. So many, many miles of property, farms were damaged by the war. Over 50 countries were involved. So that's why it gets the title of a world war and total war, because so many countries and people were affected by the war itself. So as you go on through this center and you look at the timeline and how the map changed through World War II when Germany was taking over different countries, I want you to think about different perspectives. How do you think it would have felt to be living in Germany at that time? How do you think it would have felt to be a Jewish person at that time? How do you think it would have felt to be an American or somebody in Great Britain or somebody in France at that time? Because so many people were affected by this war. Try to think of some different perspectives as you look at the interactive timeline. Good luck as you move forward.